Well, we're excited to have you on because we get to talk about some wrestling. So this is a really cool division over here, and something that as Texans we can be proud of. Tell me about how all this got started here, and just the growth that's been going on right now.
Um, as far as like for TSW or for
Yeah.
us individually?
Oh, well, both actually would be
All
great.
right, well, I'm going to brag about TSW because
Yes.
I love Texas style wrestling. But it's like you said, Texans, we are quite proud of our wrestling. Always have
Mhm.
been, always will be. It's a totally different experience than what you can get outside of the state anywhere else. And I can confidently say that you can get that exact kind of feeling whenever you come to a TSW show. We are very proud on having that nostalgic old school feel of whenever you would go to those wrestling shows. Everything was simple, it was small, it was intimate. And that's the one thing that always struck me with TSW is how you can get that intimate feel, because there are some independent shows these days that are just crazy.
Mhm.
But you get this raw talent with TSW, and with how much it's grown. I've been with them since I can't place the year, but like I've been with them since the beginning, and it's been amazing just watching them grow, and just how they once did 15 episode tapings out of an airplane hangar, and now we got an incredible venue like the OC in Forney, Texas. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. What?
and just to add on to that, just like Evelyn said, we went from setting up a makeshift studio in an airplane hangar to
Mm.
now we film our episodes in a multi-million-dollar facility, and we have access to some of the best technology that we have that you could even dream about accessing, stuff that larger companies use like WWE and AEW. Like our production and everything is right on par with those guys. So when you go to a lot of these independent shows, a lot of these smaller independent shows, they feel exactly like that. It feels like you're at a small show. And, when you come to TSW, we have all the lights and the glitz and the glamour of, the larger shows that you watch, every Monday and Friday night. But now, for probably, hell, I would probably say an eighth of the price, you could come see one of our shows and bring the whole entire family. Grandma and grandpa are going to remember when the Von Erichs were in the sportatorium, and little Jimmy and little Johnny are going to compare us to John Cena. And it truly is. It's a family spectacle.
Absolutely. Well, wrestling has always been something that people have been so passionate about, and I know that both of you grew up loving it. Who were your favorite wrestlers growing up, and when did you first what was the bug that bit you that got you going down this road?
Okay. Um, I don't know why people give me so much strife for this, but when I was younger, um, I absolutely loved Big Show.
Yeah.
Like that was my guy. Like he was my first action figure. He was my first t-shirt. It's just something about that monstrosity of a man, and he would just capture your attention, and he captured my attention every time. Like I'd lose my mind when I would hear his music come on the television. And then when I started actually getting into wrestling, I started looking at other women that really just kind of paved this path. And the biggest one that comes out into my mind is Victoria.
Yeah.
Like she, right there, she is just my inspiration for so much, with how much she would just stand out and just how much charisma she would have. Also, never mind the fact that I did have a FaceTime random video with her one weekend, but I digress on that. But I loved her. Still love her.
That's amazing.
Yeah, as a kid, Jeff Hardy was my all
Mhm.
time favorite. And I think it's just because, I mean, why everybody else loved Jeff Hardy is, he came out with the face paint, and he did things so differently and would do these crazy maneuvers off of 20-foot ladders that, you know, other people wouldn't even think about doing. And so, I mean, obviously that is going to capture my, you know, adrenaline junkie. You know, I grew up riding motocross and drag racing. And so when I saw him doing that off a ladder, I was like, that is my guy. And, you know, kind of add, you know, kind of how Evelyn said, you know, once I got into wrestling and, you know, started looking at it at a different viewpoint, you know, not just as a fan, I fell in love with Randy Orton's work.
Mhm.
I would sit there and dissect, you know, his matches and, you know, not only what he was doing, but trying to make sense of why he was doing it, you know, and I still to this day, like I'll go back and, you know, if I feel like I need reference for something that I'm wanting to do in a match, or if I'm kind of stuck on, you know, a certain thing, I'll go back and watch a lot of his old matches. And, you know, I usually end up finding my answer pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've been to the new location with Kel, the we'll call it the Fornitorium. And it's great. And I saw another interview that you guys did where, you know, that the strange question keeps coming up about wrestling possibly being fake. Prove it wrong. But you know, you can't see this and think that it is. That's got some of that stuff has to hurt. I mean, I heard the lambs.
Yeah, and I mean, I say the same thing to everybody who brings up the infamous F word
Yeah.
is, you know, like if you can show me a fake way to take a body slam, please do, because you know, obviously I've been doing it for real. And
Mhm.
if, you know, if there's a fake way to get thrown around and slapped around and, you know, slammed on the mats, then by all means, please show me, because my orthopedic surgeon owes me a pretty good refund if this stuff is supposed to be fake, you know?
Same.
Yeah. Yeah, this stuff hurts, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm. Yeah. Well, you know, and what's great too is seeing in 40 those kids get so excited, so riled up, just like they do, you know, watching any kind of wrestling and probably like you did as kids. You know, I think now you got kids looking up to you, which is the coolest thing in the world. So what kind of advice would each of you give to somebody, to one of those kids that wants to go into this world? Because it's tough, but it can be done.
That's absolutely one of my favorite things. Like when people make that comment, like you said about, oh, it's fake. It's always adults that are saying that. It's like, dude, I don't
Yeah.
care because you know I got these little gifts from little girls
Oh, that's so
just at
cute.
my last show in Colorado this past weekend, and like they love it. It's like I'm not wrestling for 40-year-old Jeff over there. I'm wrestling for a little 10-year-old Becky. What do you mean?
That's right.
And I don't know. It's something about whenever the kids come up to me after a show, and especially if it's just something like, oh, I didn't really like how I did something like this or that. I didn't like how it ended or something like that. Whenever you have these little kids that come up to you, and me personally anyway, whenever they just say, "I want to be like you when I grow
Yeah.
up," and I'm just like, you mean it? Like it's just it's awesome because kids just one, kids have no filter. They don't
Mhm.
care if they hurt your feelings. Like I've had many hecklers and crowds that are children. I think they are
No.
just smart. They are sharp as wits. Like I swear. And but whenever you have them come up to you and they genuinely love what they just saw that you do, like you drew them into this fantasy. You either quarreled some kind of feeling they felt about themselves, whether it's because you looked like them or like it was one thing that Bam Bam and I talked about on our podcast is
Mhm.
how we want to be an inspiration for children, especially because whenever it comes to a lot of kids are insecure about like how they look and stuff. Like as just a general statement, let's just attack that. A lot of children are insecure about how they look, and so one thing that Bam and myself pride ourselves on is that we don't look like what society would count as like perfect or fit. Like we are people who are outside of those social norms. And so whenever these kids, like when little girls see me, they see, oh my gosh, she has so much muscle. I can look like that. What? And the same thing with Bam's story, because Bam was overweight as a kid. Sorry, Bam, but you were overweight as
Barry,
a
I
kid.
weighed, Yeah, I mean, I'm 29 years old, and I weighed right now what I weighed in sixth grade, if that tells you anything.
Wow.
So,
Yeah,
but
and
yeah, I
so
mean,
you can tell that.
Mhm.
yeah, and it's I, I explained this to somebody the other day, and they came to a wrestling show for the first time, and they were blown away at, of course, not only how many adults were there, but how many children were there. And the simplest way I could explain it is, we are the closest thing to real life action heroes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we are the closest thing. You can look up to Superman, you can look up to Batman, or, in my case, as a kid growing up, I looked up to John Cena. I looked up to Jeff Hardy. And, to me, those were my superheroes. And
Mhm.
for them to be front row and to get there to see their superhero defeat the bad guy right in front of them. And then they get to go home and tell all their friends about it. And, I refer to wrestling in the film industry a lot together, like, again, like when the fake word comes up is, I always ask people, well, what's your favorite movie? And it never fails. It's usually a Marvel movie or, some kind of action movie. And I'm like, well, Iron Man's not real. Tony Stark is not a real human being. And, but to those kids, Bam Bam Malone, Evelyn Carter, they are real and they're live in the flesh. And so I just always try to think of that. And, it is a lot of pressure too. I'm not even going to lie. It's a lot of pressure knowing how many young eyes you have on you. And it's something to take in consideration, everywhere I go is I have to set an example, not only am I in a position where I represent TSW, but a lot of times I represent that 8-year-old kid's hero sitting in the
Mhm.
crowd, and that's who I want to make proud.
Yeah, I love that. And so you tell those kids that you can absolutely do it, right? You're living proof.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I was a little roly poly dude. If my 200-pound sixth grade self can, figure this out and work hard and do it, then any one of those kids in the audience can achieve whatever their dream is.
That's good.
Absolutely. And I always like to tell kids, you too can be just like me as long as you eat your vegetables and go to bed on time.
I love that. Well, so you'll like this. My co-host is Drew Pearson, one of our great Dallas Cowboys, caught the Hail Mary, went in the Hall of Fame. This is the
Yeah.
50th anniversary of the Hail Mary. Yeah. So we got to ask you your Hail Mary moment, the moment in your life or career where you just had to go for it and it worked out for you. What do you suppose that was for each of you?
Oh wow, mine was definitely whenever I wrestled on AEW Dark. Like that was the ultimate test for me because a lot of people will say like, "Oh, this is my time to shine. This is my time to get my name out there." Yes, absolutely. But to me, that was the ultimate test of whether or not I could handle that kind of pressure because for years leading up to that moment when I finally worked for them, it I would constantly have people that could get me on the show and they would say, "Are you ready? Do you want to go? Are you ready yet?" And I would just straight up say, "No. No. No, I'm not ready. No, I don't know." And then finally I said, "Yes, I'm ready." And then they're like, "Okay." So I finally went and I killed it. Everything felt amazing. And so that was my Hail Mary moment because I took that leap of faith wrestling in front of thousands, if not millions of viewers. And I didn't make a complete fool of myself. Like I did a good job, all things considering. And so that was definitely my Hail Mary moment. That really just skyrocketed my confidence. Like, okay, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
honestly,
And what would you say?
I would have to say, yeah, I would have to say that honestly, I'd probably have two Hail Mary moments. One is very first, when I very first started wrestling. I was really good at football growing up as a kid, and from the age of about 11 to 17, I thought I was going to be playing Division I football somewhere, and my goal was to enter the NFL draft. And I played football year round, so I would play in the fall, and then I would play in select leagues during the spring. So I mean, my life, football consumed me until at about 16 years old, I was reintroduced to wrestling again. And I found myself having a new obsession. And I completely dropped out of football my senior year of high school to pursue wrestling. And that was a tough conversation to have with my parents, who had dumped, I can't even tell you how much money on travel ball and, preparing me to go to Division I school and go play football somewhere. And I had all these offers to come look at schools. And I just decided that no, I didn't want to do it anymore, that I felt my life was going to go in a different path. And I just kind of rolled the dice and bet on myself. And here I am today. I would like to think that I made the right decision. My second Hail Mary was, similar to Evelyn's. I had a match on Friday Night SmackDown in New Orleans in the Smoothie King Center. And, as a kid, you always dream about making an entrance, to WWE. And I just remember as I walked down the ramp, it just felt so surreal that this is really happening. Like, my parents are at home, my friends and family are at home watching me come down to the ring and jump into a WWE ring. And, the nerves and everything that hit me as I was going down to the ring. But it was so odd. And Evelyn, I'm sure you could add on to this. Like, once I got into the ring, it was business as normal. The moment didn't feel too the moment didn't feel too big. I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I didn't belong. I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. And that kind of caught me by surprise, honestly. Because seconds before I walked through that curtain, I was crapping myself, pacing back and forth. But once you go to work, and once you get into that familiar environment, that's a 20 by 20 square that we call a ring. It was just normal business as usual.
I love that. Yeah, well, part of that is that success mindset, and we talk about that on the show, whether or not you're feeling it or not. And I know you can be tough on yourself. What do both of you tell yourselves when it's go time that kind of keeps you on the right path always?
I'm not gonna lie. I always throw up a little prayer
Yeah.
right before I go out, um, just because it calms me down. It's like he said. You're right before you go out. You have so much anxiety. So like my heart will be racing up in the triple digits. I can't calm down. I am hyperventilating. But as soon as the music hits, as soon as I go out there, it is like just a wave of calm comes over me. And so just knowing that I've already done this 100 times, I don't like it's something that I know that I can do, and it's something I know that I'm meant to do. Now there is still that pressure of always wanting to do better than you did last time. Like the moment the moment you stop feeling nervous and stop caring about having a better match than you did the previous time is the moment that I personally think that you should just stop, because you have to have that excitement. Like there is no there is no wrestling without the passion. And when it comes to passion, you got to deal with all the little stuff. You got to deal with the anxiety, you got to deal with the headaches, you got to deal with the panic, you have to deal with the training, the pain, all of it. And it's very intense.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I get asked all the time, do you still get butterflies? And I'm like, dude, I don't get butterflies. I get pterodactyls. Like, yes, you
Mhm.
still get very nervous. And just like she said, if you're not having those nerves before you walk through the curtain, then your time's done. If you don't care enough to be nervous before you go out there and do it, then you really have no business doing this anymore, right? Find a new hobby. But just to keep myself straight, kind of goes back to the whole role model thing. And you know, I have a certain way that I would like to present myself. And whether that's the way, I physically look, the way my gear looks, we have a certain professionalism that we have to uphold. And, And I do it just like Evelyn said as well. I say a quick prayer before I walk out through the curtain and, just tell myself like, Chase, you got this, dude. Like you've done this. You're the man. It takes a lot of self pep talk, a lot of, you're the man, you're the man, you're the man. Because if you have any self doubt when you walk through that curtain, the people are going to be able to read it right off you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're so excited for everything that you got coming up. Tell us before we let you go a bit about the podcast, a bit about the shows coming up that we need to look forward to.
Oh man, absolutely. So I believe our next show for TSW is going to be October 11th, right, Bam?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yep. October 11th.
It'll be at the beautiful OC Theater, the
Yes.
Fornitorium, because I'm so gonna call it that now.
Yeah.
And I cannot express enough how much I just would love to see everyone there. Like, you can obviously also stream it because we have this beautiful little app, Text TV Plus, and
Okay.
you can see us air there, absolutely. But I really would absolutely love if people would just come to a live show, because there's nothing like it. There's really not. Like, go to at least one, and I guarantee you'll be hooked to want to go to more. It's just a fact. And as far as the podcast goes that Bam and I do, I'm not gonna lie, we've been quite busy with wrestling,
Good.
and so we have not been able to record an episode. What I really wanted to do, one of these days, we're gonna be on the way to a show that we're gonna wrestle on together, and we'll have our phones set up in the car, and we're gonna like vlog the whole thing. But we need to be better about that. About
Well,
getting them.
I believe in the Fornitorium. There's some great podcasting rooms you can probably do it as there as well, right?
Oh, that's where we do
absolutely.
it.
And we have, yeah, we have, and like you can look us up on YouTube. The podcast is called After the Three Count.
Good.
We have recorded probably, what would you say, Ash? What, 4 or 5 episodes already?
Yeah.
So we keep telling each other like, hey, this week we need to figure out a time, and then next thing I know, it's Saturday and I'm on the road and she's on the road, and so we're gonna have to like mark down some time and sit down and record, because it is a blast. We kind of pull the curtain back a little bit with After the Three Count, and instead of Evelyn, Carter, and Bam Bam Malone, you get Ashley and Chase.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit more of just who we are. And I feel like as a society, with social media and everything, that's what really intrigues people now. Everybody is wanting to know what happens behind the curtain. And even though we can't tell you everything, we can tell you a little. We can tell you a little bit and give you a little bit of a sneak peek. But yeah, look for that. We are going to have new episodes coming out soon. We just got to sit down and hammer them out. And then we also do a lot of fan questions as well. So if you could just find us on social media, Evelyn, Carter, and Bam Bam Malone on Instagram and Facebook. A lot of times when we do know we are going to record, the day before, we do accept fan questions, and we'll actually read them right there live on the podcast. And we're trying to be as interactive as possible. And like Evelyn said, we would love to do some kind of, we may even live stream us driving to a show one day and just do a live Q&A. So After the Three Count is the podcast, and then tswplus.com is where you can actually catch all the episodes as well. Also, be sure to check your local markets. Like I know in Dallas, we come on the CW33 every Saturday night at 10 p.m. So check out your local market, search on your direct TV or whatever you have, Texas style wrestling, press that record button and enjoy us every week.
That's perfect. Well, we're so happy for you. Like I said, I've been to the show. So much fun. We're going to tell everybody, come check it out. And I'm going to come again and check it out. I really appreciate your time today and the great answers and the good motivational stuff. And look forward to talking to both of you again soon and seeing you in person at the Fornitorium.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank
Sounds
you so
good.
much. I appreciate
Thank you so much, Paul.
And thank you, Cal. All right. Thanks so much. We'll see you guys later.